Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Today we are talking about everybody's favorite plant. Yes, and I know I'm kidding because most of you despise this plant. But I thought, one, it's important to help try to alleviate some of the confusion about the plant and the misidentification of it. But it is such an important wildlife plant, especially for birds. Birds eat poison ivy berries, especially in fall migration, and over the winter they're important sources of food for many, many species. And so when I hear people talking about poison ivy and how much they hate it, and I kill it and I do everything I can to get to cut it out and I kill the vines and everything else, like, well, yes, I don't mind poison ivy in your flower beds is not a good idea. But I'm going to hope this program will help you become a little less afraid of the plant and learn to respect it and leave it for wildlife and where you can. So the poison ivy, everybody has their horror stories. Not everybody's allergic to it. Yes, no one should ever eat the berries because the berries are poisonous. But the oil in the leaves and in the stem that is the skin irritant that's so famous that makes people itch and break out and have red welts and everything. Not everyone is allergic to it. I grew up and was not allergic to it. I was in Boy Scouts. I was in the woods all the time. I was all in poison ivy, and I never got it as a child. And in my teenage years, again. And then when I was about 30, I reached in to unlock a padlock that was covered in poison ivy at work, and sure enough, I got some poison ivy on the back of my hand. It wasn't bad, it was just a little bit. But you can lose your immunity to it at any time, and it is an irritant, and I understand that. And then I'm not saying that it isn't a problem to some people. So, and some people break out terribly bad, and I know that. But it is important. But if you learn to identify it, learn to avoid it, and if you think you've been exposed to it, if you wash your hands with cold water. Cold water is important because hot water opens the pores to your skin and allows that oil into your skin faster and makes it worse. Cold water is the best way to wash your hands, and a scrubbing soap. When we worked at the Conservation Department, both of mine, all three of mine that I've worked for, we always had lava soap in the bathrooms because we knew we would get into poison ivy, and cold water and scrubbing soap helps get rid of it. But there are a lot of misidentifications, a lot of plants that look like poison ivy out there, and I think people are killing perfectly good plants because they think it's poison ivy. So let's see if we can't clarify the identification and help you with a clue as to the best way to do that. And I'm going to need Ruth as a volunteer, and she's over behind the camera, but I'm going to have her come around here in just a minute to make this work. But poison ivy on the screen. Leaves of 3, let it be, right? That's the most famous saying of all. That doesn't work for everything because there are a lot of 3-leaved plants out there. So let's differentiate this from a couple of the really actually good plants that have leaves of 3. All right. There are 3 leaflets here on these plants. There's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can see all the leaflets where there's 3. But what I want you to notice, and what I do with the kids, is come on here, Ruth. Come on, you gotta be a volunteer. Okay, so put your hands up across from each other. Hold your arms together, and you leave. That's turned to the camera. Okay. Spread your leaves out like this. You got 2 leaves. All right. Leaves of 3 could be just like this, where there's I don't know if you're in focus, but 1, 2, 3. But if you'll notice, poison ivy always has that stem on that 3rd limb that sticks up, and the 3rd leaflet's up here like that. Thank you, Ruth.
Okay.
All right. So 1, 2. There's a stem here and the 3rd leaf. 1, 2. This is probably the best one you can see. See that stem right there, and then that 3rd leaflet. That is important whenever we're going to show other plants. Let's see. Here's one of my favorite plants that gets confused with it a lot of times. This is aromatic sumac. Very beneficial plant to wildlife. See 1, 2, 3 leaflets. They all come from the same point. There's not that stem out like that. Same, look all the way around. You can see leaves of 3. And a lot of people think this little shrub is poison ivy. It is not. Those 3 leaflets come out all at the same place. This is box elder. Yeah, this is actually a tree. This is in the ash family. But when people look at that, when we see a lot of it right down here at Amity Woods, and when we walk down there, and I always say, look, it's the poison ivy tree, because people think it's poison ivy because the leaves are very jagged like the poison ivy leaves are, and they tend to be either in threes or maybe just two more behind it. But this is a tree that gets confused for poison ivy, and people cut it out because they think it's poison ivy. But no, there's no third stem. There's not that stem that comes where those three leaflets are at. So another one that gets confused with it. Oh, we'll get back to him. Oh, and here is the most famous one that gets confused with poison ivy all the time. Yes, poison ivy on this side of the tree. See the 1, 2, and the stem, and the third leaflet. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Virginia creeper or woodbine, but it grows and vines up a tree like poison ivy does, and so this is most often confused with poison ivy. And it is a very beneficial plant. It produces a big blueberry in the fall that birds eat and wildlife eats, and so people kill this because they think it's poison ivy, and you're taking away food from wildlife. So if you educate yourself, learn to identify it, learn to avoid it, learn to wash properly if you think you've been exposed to it, then you can coexist with poison ivy. And if you go online and you type in birds that eat poison ivy, and you will get tons of pictures of just about every species of bird you know. This is a yellow rump warbler that we see every fall, and in early winter comes through here in big numbers, and we often see this bird eating poison ivy berries, and that's what he's eating here. An eastern bluebird eating poison ivy berries. When I looked it up online this morning, and wonder what they list. They had pictures of pileated woodpeckers on a vine eating poison ivy berries, and downy woodpeckers. Lots of cardinal pictures. Lots of birds eat poison ivy berries. They're very, very important to nature. So, again, learn to coexist with it. Yes, you don't want it in your flower beds. I understand. Kill it and pull it out of that. But if it's growing in your wood edges and out in the let it exist. Let it have its space, and you'll see birds because of it, and you'll be a friend to birds. So, neat topic. Hope.
The red foliage.
Oh yeah, she did the red foliage. Yeah, one of the things that is great about this plant is this is actually poison ivy in the early fall, and it turns a beautiful orange and yellow. And it really turns quite early. It's one of the first plants in the forest that we'll see showing color, and sometimes it goes to a rich red, but a lot of times it's a brilliant orange. Beautiful plant. Again, it adds beauty to the woods as well. So thanks for the idea for the program. Send in more. Give us a like. Give them a share if you would. Until then, come by. Let's talk birds.